Hi, welcome to section 2.3. We're on page 42, and today we're going to talk about the present tense of estar. So we have, for the verb to be in English, two forms in Spanish. We have ser and we have estar. Now, we talked about ser in the first chapter, and now we're going to talk about this verb here. We're going to talk about how to conjugate it, and then also where you would use it in what situations. Okay, so estar ends in AR, but it doesn't follow the pattern of regular AR verbs. So this would be one of those irregular verbs that we would need to memorize. So we're going to go ahead and look at that pattern here. And so you just have to remember, estar looks like an AR verb, but it really doesn't follow that pattern that we talked about when we conjugated AR verbs a couple of sections ago. So if I go ahead, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and write out our pattern for estar. And remember, whenever I draw this, the S stands for singular, the P stands for plural. And then first person, second person, and third person. So first person singular, yo estoy. Second person singular, tú estás. Third person singular, él está. And then whenever I just am writing it out and I just say él, it's really él, ella, usted. But for the purposes of just writing it out, I'll just use that one form, but it applies to all of them. Nosotros estamos. And ellos están. Okay, so we'll notice that the yo form is irregular. Okay, and then that all of the other ones, you see, have all of the, I say that, all of the other forms except for the nosotros form have an accented A. Okay, so estoy, estás, está, estamos, and están. Second person singular and third person singular and third person plural will have that accent. Okay, so this one might be one that you need to memorize specifically so that you remember how to conjugate it. All right, so uses for estar and ser. So this is where we break down when you would use one or the other. So for estar, you're going to use it for location, health, and well-being. So one way that I have found is helpful to think about estar versus ser is that estar is more temporary versus ser is more permanent. And by that, I mean that estar would be like a transitory kind of state of being versus ser, which is for a more permanent state of being. Now, what do I mean by that? So with estar, for example, we use it for location, health, and well-being. These are all things that can change, right? If you're at home right now, tomorrow you might be at school, or you might be in Hawaii, or you might be at the dentist's office. Location can change. That's transitory. So can health and well-being. You might be healthy today, but tomorrow you might have the flu. You might have a sore tooth or whatever. So those all change. Well-being, those all change. You might be really happy today. Tomorrow you might be really, really miserable. You might be really, really sad. You might be hungry, and you won't always be hungry. So those things can change. So we're going to use estar for things that are more temporary versus ser, which we'll use for things that are more permanent. So like identity, occupation, origin. And then now occupation, of course, that can change as well. Like you're a student today, tomorrow you might be an engineer. But that's more permanent than just like the daily changes of, I'm in the bathroom, I'm in the kitchen, whatever. We're also going to use it for telling time, which you might say, well, the time isn't permanent. That would be one exception where that rule maybe doesn't make quite as much sense. It might just be important for you to remember that ser is also used for telling time. But in terms of identity, for example, we can see in the examples here, hola, soy Maru, my name, that doesn't change, right? Soy Maru. That's not going to change. That's who I am. That's my identity. We're going to use ser for that. Okay? And then we have origin. ¿Eres de España? Sí, soy de España. Okay, so this might take a little bit of time to get used to because, of course, we're used to using just to be for all of our to be verbs, for all of our expressions of being. And in Spanish, we're using these two different verbs. Okay, so also with estar, we're going to use different prepositions to describe the locations of a person or an object. So that's like if I say, where is the kitchen? And you could say, la cocina está al lado de la sala. So these are all phrases that you're going to use. So you would use a form of estar. So está or están, depending on whether it's singular or plural. And then you'll use one of the following phrases. Al lado de, which means next to or beside. A la derecha de, to the right of. A la izquierda de. Or you could say está en la mesa. It's on the table. Está cerca de la mesa. It's near the table. Está debajo de la mesa. Below the table. Está delante de la mesa, in front of. Detrás de is behind. Encima de is on top of. Entre is between. So for entre, you would need está entre. So between, you have to have two different things to be between something. So entre la cocina. Entre el baño. Let's see. El baño y la sala. There you would need two different things to be between. Lejos de is far from, and sobre is on or over. So those are really handy words, phrases that you can use to express location. And for those, you would need to memorize them, of course, as vocabulary terms so that you can use them. And then they give us the examples here, how to say something is, where something is located. Okay, so that's it for this section. I'm going to go ahead and do manos a la obra. So if you'd like to do the exercise before going over the answers with me, go ahead and pause the recording now. So for here, we're providing the present tense forms of estar. So let me number these. Okay. Número 1. Ustedes están en la clase. José está delante de Rosa. Yo estoy muy bien, gracias. Nosotras estamos en la cafetería. Tú estás en el laboratorio. Elena está lejos de la librería. Ellas están en la universidad. Ana y yo estamos en la clase. ¿Cómo está Usted. Javier y Paula están en el estadio. Okay. Nosotros estamos enfermos. Yo estoy en la biblioteca. Carmen y María están en la residencia estudiantil. Tú estás al lado de Raúl. Okay, that's all the answers there. If you have any questions, please let me know in the forum. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you there.